My business partner and best professional friend was charging patients packages in cash without going through the register. I found out when a patient asked about a package that did not exist in the system. What I found changed everything I thought about 3 years together. There are business partnerships that are born from friendship, that have a different energy from those born from convenience or capital. That at the origin have something genuine that makes the difficult conversations get postponed because you do not want money to damage what you have. That the formal agreements are signed halfway through or with more trust than detail because you have known the other person for a long time and that seems sufficient. That genuine energy is also the reason why when something goes wrong, the harm is of a specific kind. Not only economic, relational, of the kind that is not resolved with a legal process, even though the legal process is necessary. My name is Valentina. I'm 35 years old. I'm a clinical nutritionist specializing in sports nutrition, and I have spent 3 years as partner and co-founder of Equilibrio, a wellness center that Camila and I opened together after 5 years of working at the same clinic. Camila is 37 years old. She's a psychologist specializing in eating behavior. We have known each other since before opening the center. The partnership had worked well in terms of what we produce for patients. The center's numbers had grown consistently. The relationship between us was that of two people who respect each other professionally and who also care for each other. Or so I thought. The patient who came in confused was named Sophia. She was 28 years old. She was new to the center. Sophia arrived on a Tuesday at 11 in the morning. She told me Camila had told her about the center, that she had explained the services, that she had offered her a package that included 8 nutrition consultations and 6 psychology sessions for a price that was approximately 30% less than the sum of the individual prices, that the package was paid directly to Camila, in cash or transfer to her personal account, that before paying, she wanted to come see the space and confirm it was what she was looking for. I told her I would be happy to show her the center. And while I showed her the center, I went to the administration system on my phone. I searched the available packages. There was no package with those characteristics. The packages that existed in the system were different in structure and price, and all of them were paid through the center's register, not to anyone's personal account. I told Sophia I was going to verify the details of the package she had been offered, that sometimes there were special promotions not always updated in all materials, that I would call her that afternoon. Sophia left. I closed the door of my consulting room, and I was left with that information processing, a package that did not exist in the system, paid directly to Camila's personal account, with a discount the center's system did not record. I did not call Camila immediately. What I did was review the center's records with more attention than I had had reason to give them before. The administrative system recorded payments that came through the register. It also recorded scheduled appointments. What I looked for was the discrepancy between scheduled appointments and recorded payments for Camila's patients, specifically for the new patients of the last 6 months. What I found was enough for the conversation coming to be one of the most difficult I was going to have in my professional life. There were 8 of Camila's patients who had appointments in the system, but no corresponding payments in the center's register. 8 patients in 6 months, with a number of sessions varying between 4 and 12 each. I calculated the estimated amount those sessions represented in income that had not passed through the register. It was approximately 96,000 pesos in 6 months, from a center that in that same period had had total registered income of approximately 340,000 pesos. What Camila had diverted was almost 20% of what the center should have received. I spoke with our accountant before speaking with Camila. Her name was Patricia, and she had been with the center for 2 years. I described what I had found without going into all the details. I asked her to independently review the reconciliation of appointments and payments from the last 6 months, to confirm whether the discrepancy I had found was real or whether there was an accounting explanation I was not seeing. Patricia responded the following day. She told me the discrepancy was real, that there was no legitimate accounting explanation for the 8 cases I had identified, that the corresponding income simply had not entered the center. The conversation with Camila I had on Thursday, at the center, after the last patients of the day had left. I told her we needed to talk. That it was about something serious. Camila arrived at that conversation with the tension of someone who has been living with something for some time and who, when told we need to talk, understands before it begins what it is going to be about. I showed her the discrepancy, the 8 cases, the estimated amount, Sophia's story. Camila did not deny it. What she did was look at the numbers for a moment and then look at me. She told me she had been going through personal economic difficulties, that she had had debts she had not known how to resolve any other way, that she had thought it was temporary, that she was going to pay back the money when she could, that she had never wanted to harm the center. I asked her whether at any point she had thought about telling me she was going through a difficult situation. She told me yes, many times, that she had been afraid of what I would think, that we were partners, that our professional and personal relationship depended on me seeing her as someone responsible, that she had not found a way to tell me she was not being that. I sat with that answer processing. It was honest in a way that resolved nothing, but that changed something in the conversation, not in the harm that had occurred, and what could follow. I told Camila 2 things. The first, that what she had done had real consequences for the center and for me that did not disappear with the explanation. That 96,000 pesos was money the center had stopped having. That there were patients who had received center services without the center having received the corresponding payment. That affected the operation and the commitments the center had. That it needed to be repaired. The second, that what she described about the fear of telling me about her difficulties told me something about the dynamic of our partnership that I needed to process. That if I was a partner, she could not tell she was going through something difficult that was also a problem of mine. Not to excuse what she had done, but because a partnership where one of the two cannot say they need help has a fragility that eventually produces exactly what it had produced. What followed was a 4-month process that still has parts ongoing. Camila signed a debt acknowledgement agreement with the center for the diverted amount, with a structured payment plan that was realistic given her economic situation. The agreement also included modification of the center's payment protocols. All patient payments, regardless of the service or who attended them, would go through the center's register without exception. Neither of us would have authority to agree on prices or packages outside the system. The partnership continues, with a different dynamic, with conversations we did not have before because we postponed them to avoid putting money at the center of the relationship. Those conversations are more uncomfortable than the ones we had before. They're also more honest. What cost me most of this entire process was processing the part that corresponded to me, not Camila's decision, the dynamic I had contributed to creating. A partnership where talking about personal economic difficulties felt too risky, where the image of competence and responsibility both of us projected had created a space where vulnerability did not fit. That dynamic does not justify what Camila did, but it is real information about something I also needed to change. What I want you to take from this story has parts for people in different positions. For those who have or are considering a business partnership with someone they also love as a friend. Friendship does not substitute clear agreements about how money and payments are handled. In fact, friendship makes those agreements more necessary because it is harder to have the difficult conversations with someone you love. Clear payment protocols and equal access for both parties to financial information are not evidence of distrust. They're the structure that protects the friendship when money gets complicated. For those in a difficult economic situation who are tempted to resolve things in ways that affect people close to them, the direct conversation about going through something difficult is almost always possible, even when it seems it is not. And its consequences are almost always lesser than those of the alternatives that avoid that conversation. The shame of asking for help is real, and the consequences of not asking for it are what is described in this story. If this story resonated with you, comment. Do you believe business partnerships between friends are harder to manage than those formed between people who only have a professional relationship? Or do you believe friendship could be a strength if handled well? Like if you believe any business partnership should have explicit payment handling protocols regardless of how much trust there is between the people. Subscribe for more real stories. Share with someone who has a business with a friend and who might benefit from reviewing their payment protocols. Practical tip. If you have a business in partnership with another person, make sure there is a system where both of you have real-time access to all incoming payments, not as a control mechanism toward the other, as a structure that makes financial information transparent for both and eliminates the possibility of a space existing where money can circulate in a way only one of you knows about. That transparency protects the partnership and the relationship.